of this series of Nectar of Devotion. So we'll be continuing with our discussion where we left off yesterday about the ideal authentic definition of what is the pure devotional service, or how do we define devotional service properly. So before we continue from where we left off, let us do a little bit of revision of what we have missed out. Just a second. So yesterday while we discussed, we revised our last week's lectures first. So we understood the intention behind why this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu book was written, and then why Prabhupada translated it, and how he has called it as the law book of ISKCON. Then we understood what is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So yesterday, as we all know, stands for the ocean of nectar of devotion. So let us continue first of all by offering our obeisances. Nana Shastra Vicharne Kanipanau Tad Dharma Sanstapakau Lokanam Hitkarinau Tribhuvane Manyau Sharanya Karau Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajanandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in transcendental loving service of Shri Radha, Krishna, and Krishna. So, yesterday we talked about Mangalacharan, that is auspicious invocation. The reason there should be auspicious invocation is what we understood. There are 3 reasons. Second is to allow the author to give blessings, and third is to allow the readers to receive the blessings. So amongst that, then second part was what is going to be covered in this book. So we understood that it is, since it is an ocean, there are 4 sides or 4 waves. The eastern side is talking about the varieties of devotional service. The southern side is going to talk about the different types of rasas. Western side will classify the primary rasas in detail, and northern side will cover the secondary rasas. And then we came to the definition of pure devotional service, wherein we saw that it has got 2 kinds of characteristics, the Svarupa Lakshana and the Tatastha Lakshana. So Swarupa Lakshana are one, which are essential characteristics, and Tatastha are the ancillary characteristics. So Swarupa Lakshana, as per the definition which we understood, a shloka which I have requested all of you to learn, are basically 3: Anukulyena, Kṛṣṇanu, Anu-Shilanam. So this is what we have seen, that there are 4 subsections. So eastern side is going to be helping us to understand about the Samanya Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and the Prema Bhakti. So let us recite this shloka. I request all of you, if possible, to unmute, or at least without unmuting, speak loudly and repeat this shloka and learn this. Anyabhilashita Sunyam Karmady Anavrtam Anukulyena Krishna Anu-Shilanam bhaktir uttama. So it is Anyabhilashita Sunyam, without material desires. Jnana, monistic philosophy. Karmady, fruitive action. Anavrtam, uncovered. Anukulyena, favorable. Kṛṣṇanu, in relationship to Krishna. Shilanam, cultivation of service. And bhaktir uttama, is the first class devotional service. I have already shared the whole what we are talking about today and yesterday in the chat box yesterday. So most of you would have downloaded it. If you have not downloaded it, I'll be sharing it again today. And all of the details that we talk about, the presentations that we discuss, are available on our Google Drive, whose link I have already shared with you last week as well as yesterday, and it is available in our registration form as well, and also on our YouTube videos. So you can go through those data there also. So in pure devotional service, few important aspects which we saw yesterday. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly, this word constantly is important, serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So this we have already seen. So Anukulyena, Anu-Shilanam are the Svarupa Lakshanas, and Anyabhilashita Sunyam and Karmady and Anavrtam are the Tatastha Lakshana. So Svarupa Lakshana have three characteristics. It is for Krishna, it is active engagement, and it is executed with favorable intent. So here we have to understand that Krishna means Krishna and his personal expansions. Krishna also includes all expansions as well as his pure devotees. Anu-Shilanam, Anu means following constantly, and Shilanam is the behavior. So we are following the footsteps of our acharyas and other great devotees, and that is how it is Anu-Shilanam. So devotional activities could be positive, nivritti, and negative. The activities which we are going to avoid, which will be nivritti. So regarding Anu-Shilanam, it has been mentioned that if he is not continuously engaged in cultivation of devotional service, it cannot be called uttama bhakti. It is not pure devotional service. Someone might come into the temple and the deity might inspire him, and he might put some money in the box just to please deity, or he might want to sing some bhajan just to please deity, and then he goes and does everything else. So that is not pure devotional service. It has to be systemic cultivation. The particular use by Srila Guru Goswami is Anu-Shilanam, or cultivation by following the predecessor teachers, acharyas. And as soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. So those of you who feel that just by meditation, we can become better, we can become devotees, no. It has to be an activity. It is very important. So Anukulyena, favorable, it has to be pleasing to Krishna, and it has to be with the intention to please Krishna. So both of these two things are important. It not only should be pleasing to Krishna, even our intention has to be that we have to please Krishna. So both things have to be happening simultaneously. So even if we know, okay, suppose we are doing deity dressing or deity worship, and we know that offering of arti is something which will be pleasing Krishna, but then we are not doing it with the intention to please Krishna, but just someone has ordered us to do the arti, so we are doing the arti. So even if the activity is pleasing to Krishna, still, since it is not with the intention to please Krishna, it is not Anukulyena. This is just one example which I thought I should share. So both things are important. Activity as such should be something which Krishna has ordered. And secondly, when we are doing that activity, our intention has to be to please Krishna. So in this regard, it is very important to understand that we have already seen most of the time that if we do any kind of action, we are going to have a reaction. So every karma is going to have a reaction. So it is important, as stated in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, that we have to go towards a karma, wherein we do karmas and offer everything to Krishna, so that even the results go to him and we don't have to bear the results. Hence, for whatever we do in life, Krishna has to be at the center of our activities. Whatever we think, whatever we say, whatever we do, even if we are sleeping, it has to be for Krishna, so that this body becomes invigorated, and next day we are able to serve the devotees and the lordships in a much, much better. Just think, even sleeping has to be to please Krishna. That is the level to which we have to think and have Krishna at the center of all our activities. Then it can be called as Anukulyena. So Krishna definitely has to get pleasure from it. And secondly, our attitude has to be favorable. That is also important. Many a times when we are doing, donation collection for the temple or for the deities, for any activities, any festivals, we approach people and people generally say, hey, yaar, he is coming again and again, let me give something. So even though he is giving donation for an activity for Krishna, it is going to be ideally purifying his money. But because his attitude was not favorable, it will not be considered as Anukulyena. And so the results are not going to be positive for him. Another example which we can give is, suppose we see devotees who are, say, disciples of Maharaj, of Prabhupada, and we have to please Prabhupada, we want to invite Prabhupada, we want to invite Maharaj to our residence. But when their disciples come to just to see what is happening, whether everything is proper or not proper, and we don't treat them properly, we don't treat them as good as we treat our Maharaj, then it will not be Anukulyena. Because Guru Maharaj is a representative of Krishna. And disciples of Guru Maharaj are representatives of the Guru. So they are also equivalent to Krishna. So we have to offer our respect and serve everyone with humility. That is important. Then it will be Anukulyena. Krishna, when we talk about Krishna, it's not only Krishna, it is Krishna, his expansions, even his paraphernalia and his devotees. So we are saying paraphernalia, so maybe the arti plate or the fan or the chamar that we use, all that. The dresses that we have for Krishna, his flute, his feathers, everything. If he is serving Jagannath Ji, then his crown, everything, even paraphernalia considered as Krishna. So our attitude has to be Anukulyena towards all the paraphernalia. Not that I have done the worship, now let someone do the washing and cleaning part. No. Then that will be an aparadha. It has to be as if we are cleaning the utensils, we are cleaning the deity room, we are cleaning the backup room, so that Krishna comes there as per his desire. Anytime he may get that desire. So you should see everything clean, neat, and tidy. When we start serving deities with this attitude, that even paraphernalia is Krishna, then it is Anukulyena. And then Anu-Shilanam, constant activity. And it has to be by following our acharyas, following our Guru Maharaj, following Prabhupada Ji. And we follow their instructions continuously to the T. Let us not deviate anything. The instructions are very clear. He has made everything so easy, so simple for us that we become successful and reach Golok successfully. There are hundreds of examples. I will not be able to take the names, but many of the disciples of Maharaj, Guru Prabhupada Ji, who had a fall down, but somehow or the other, because of their previous good activities, previous devotional service, when the end came, or when the time came for them to leave the body, they again came to the association of devotees. They stayed in temples, and at the time of death, what they have uttered is, "Oh, Prabhupada Ji, you have come to take me." Just think. Prabhupada Ji had promised that you follow my instructions and I'll take you back to Golokvinda. There are documented, video recorded evidences that he has been fulfilling his promise. So we are in the right hands. We are in the right disciplic succession of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And we will definitely get the benefits. So we just have to follow the footsteps of our acharyas and we will be successful. So the second part is the Tatastha Lakshana, or the secondary characteristics. So the two secondary characteristics of pure devotional service are Anyabhilashita Sunyam and Jnana Karmady Anavrtam. So as we saw in the definition part first, Anyabhilashita Sunyam means free from ulterior motive, but actually any kind of motive is there. And Anya means other, Abhilasha, integral desire, Shunyam, devoid. So any kind of desire we should not have. Shunya, it should be void, voidism. We should not be accepting anything. Important to note here is the word used is abhilashita, not abhilasha. If it was only abhilasha, it would be desire. But it is abhilashita. So it's integral desire. And second part is Jnana, Karmady, Anavrtam. Jnana means the impersonal philosophy, or any kind of knowledge which is material in nature, which is not leading us to Krishna. Karma are the fruitive activities we have been doing, adis, etc. So it could be artificial detachment, the mystic yoga, the astrology. It's not that they don't have place. They have their place, but they are not the primary aspects. And Anavrtam, it should not be covered by all of this. So Jnana, Karmady, Anavrtam. So Anavrtam, when we say, it means that it has to be uncovered by mental speculation of fruitive activities, karma kanda. And Jnana, Karmady, Anavrtam means not covered. So if you mix up with karma with bhakti, or Jnana with bhakti, or maybe yoga, then it is going to be contaminated. It is not going to be pure. So we should not mix our devotional service with anything else. This is very important to remember, which Rupa has mentioned. And pure devotional service is given by Rupa Goswami as Anyabhilashita Sunyam. No desire for fruitive activities or philosophical speculation or yogic mystic magic. No. Simply how to satisfy Krishna, that is bhakti. And Anukulyena means that is favorable, what Krishna desires, that is first class bhakti. Now, as I was mentioning here, it's not Anyabhilashita Sunyam. It has Anyabhilashita Sunyam, means devoid of other desires which are as deep-rooted as one's nature. Lashita. So anything, including our own nature, we have to be able to give that up. In death-threatening situations, sometimes a devotee may say, "Oh Lord, please save me. Your devotee now is in danger, so please save me. I am your devotee. Please save me from this danger." Now, people may say, "Oh, he has got a material desire." But then, this is not harmful because it was sudden temporary desire. And this desire has arisen beyond the control and opposite of his devotional nature. And that desire is not the nature of a devotee. So as soon as that issue is over, he should be leaving it back and again continue with his devotional service. Then maybe we'll still continue to say that he is in pure devotional service. Now this is something which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has clearly mentioned in his commentary. I thought it is wise that since this is related to this topic about Lakshanam, this should be incorporated here. Similarly, Jiva Goswami ji, when he has written a commentary on Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu about Tatastha Lakshana, he says, therefore, superficial, fleeting desires or desires for self-preservation do not exclude one from pure devotional service, and thus devotional service can be executed in the stage of sadhana bhakti. So if there are fleeting desires for self-preservation, fleeting hai, okay. But then your sadhana bhakti has to be continuous. So that is also important to remember. Coming to Karmady Anavrtam, there are 4 important sentences in the introduction. One devotee in Bombay asked Prabhupada, should a devotee save a drowning man if he can? Or should he just say that it is materialistic activity and we are only interested in serving Krishna, so we should not interfere with his karma and we should let him die? This is but natural. And this question comes a lot many times. What if someone is going and we see that a car is about to hit the boy? Should we save the boy or just say, okay, it is his karma, he is going to be hit, let him be hit? Prabhuji replied that in principle, he should not save him. Because actually we have no business interfering with people's actions and reactions. So in principle. But then there's another consideration called loka vichara or loka vikara or public sentiment. So what does it say? A devotee matter is something which is not strictly included in the category of devotional service out of consideration for public sentiment, so that the people do not become hostile to devotees and make it harder for devotees to preach. But if you think that if you don't do some material pious activities, then I cannot achieve bhakti or some bad will come to me, that is against the principles of pure devotional service. So, as a principle, as a philosophy, we may not save that person. But then there's loka vikar, loka vichar. That it is our duty. If we save him, then it will be seen as a good deed and people will become more receptive to understanding about Krishna, to know about Krishna. And so we should be doing it. And since the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh, it is important that whatever we do, whatever we talk, whatever we write, it has to be in such a way that when we speak about Krishna, it becomes receptible to anyone who is hearing it, who is reading it. So we should not be allowing any kind of negativity coming up about us or how we live, how we act, how we speak, how we treat anyone, including our relatives, friends, colleagues, or even enemies, those who have been chastising us, those who have been giving us sorrows year after year, life after life. So even if you know that the person has done the gravest of injustice to you, he is there to only destroy you, disturb your peace of mind, still you should try to serve him. The reason being, if you are not going to react, then his anger or her anger over a period of time will vanish. And slowly and steadily, they will start seeing the goodness of Krishna consciousness. They will become receptive. And because of your being able to adjust to, digest all the injustices, a time will come wherein he will be ready to listen to you. So from that angle, you should definitely interfere. And that becomes another angle which is more important. But it does not mean that we involve ourselves in material activities. No, my wife, she is a devotee. I want to make her a devotee. So maybe I should buy her a bigger house, maybe a bigger car, a bigger necklace. No. Here the objective is not to pacify or satisfy the wife. The moment you are trying to satisfy her, excuse me, then it is not Kṛṣṇanu, Anu-Shilanam, or it is not Anukulyena Kṛṣṇanu. You have given her all that are the basic necessities. You are not destroying or disturbing her peace of mind, giving her space that she requires. That is sufficient. That will be appreciated, if not today, tomorrow, if not tomorrow, a month later, a year later, a couple of years later, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the line. And that receptiveness will develop, wherein the message of Krishna can be passed and even your life partner can become a devotee. So we are also learning these life lessons, how to behave, how to act with others. So this particular shloka, pure devotional service, Svarupa Lakshanas are Anukulyena, Kṛṣṇa and Anu-Shilanam, Tatastha Lakshana, Anyabhilashita Sunyam, Jnana, Karmady, Anavrtam. But this is not the only definition. The next shloka is also a definition of pure devotional service. This shloka is also something which I would request all of you to learn. The shloka number 12 of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Now, first one was bhakti uttama. Here it is bhakti uchyate. So, what is the detail? Sarvopadi vinirmuktam, free from all kinds of material designations. We'll be learning it in detail. Tatparatvena nirmalam. Tatparatven, by the sole purpose of serving Krishna. Tat here refers to Krishna. And nirmalam, that is uncontaminated, like water. Rishikena, by purified senses, which we are having. Whom? Rishikesha. Who is Rishikesh? The master of senses. Krishna. And how? Sevanam, the service. Bhakti, devotional service. Uchyate is called. So, our service, when it is for the sole purpose of serving Krishna, it is uncontaminated. It is done by our purified senses for the master of the senses, then it will be called as the Uchyate, a service which is good. So these are the two definitions which also come in the Narada Pancharatra. I've just taken it here. So if you can, please recite them on your own by reading the screen. It's a humble request. Please recite them and allow your ears to hear what you are talking. Anyabhilashita Sunyam, Jnana Karmady Anavrtam, Anukulyena Kṛṣṇanu, Anu-Shilanam bhaktir uttama. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam, tatparatvena nirmalam, rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. So the first shloka translation is, when first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. And second shloka, bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. Anyabhilashita Sunyam, Jnana Karmady Anavrtam, Anukulyena Kṛṣṇa Anu-Shilanam bhaktir uttama. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate. So I have also written down word to word meaning of these shlokas so that you are able to understand it properly. These are very important two shlokas of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Most of our discussion or a period of time in coming weeks is going to be concentrating as we become more and more deep diving into this topic. So we have already covered here. Nirmalam also means faultless. So not only unadulterated but also faultless is another way we have to talk about Nirmalam. And Tatparatvena also has to be considered from the aspect that you have to consider him as the highest object for what we are serving. So that is how we have to look at this definition. So the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, today we are just introducing them. We'll be going into details in future. So Kleshagni, Shubhada, it's not Puda, it is Shubhada, Moksha Laghukrata, Sudurlabha, Sandranandana Visheshatma, and Shri Krishna Akarshini. So these are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service which we will be taking up in future. So concluding quote from the introduction part of this book. So this Krishna consciousness movement is to give chance to everyone to hear about Krishna. This is the first process, Shravanam. And when one has heard very nicely about Krishna, then he can speak about Krishna, and he must speak. You cannot remain without speaking. That is the result of Shravanam. Shravanam Kirtanam. One who has heard nicely, he must speak or preach. That is very important. So we will offer our prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sham Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let us summarize what we have covered in these first 2 weeks, because from tomorrow, from next session, we'll be starting with the first, chapter of this particular book. I have already shared the preface as well as the introduction in 2 PDF files with all of you. I hope you all have downloaded it. If you have not downloaded, please do download it either from this chat box here or from the Google Drive. It's a humble request that you read this. My experience says if you don't read immediately after we have listened, if you have not read before coming for listening, then this topic becomes little difficult to remember and then retell in future. So it's a humble request. Seeing your sincerity, all of you here coming regularly, please do read about this book before coming and after the session as well. You have got 5 days wherein you can do it, repeated reading, go through the shlokas, these 2 important shlokas which we have seen, learn them. That will be very useful. Another aspect, it will also give rise for you to ask certain questions. Like, okay, yesterday I got one question from someone who said, can you please explain the analogy of how devotees and acharyas are sharks in ocean? So these questions can come only if you have read it. So I said that yes, I'll be revising it tomorrow in the class. So I'm just doing it as per the request again. So we have seen in that example that there are so many rivers which are flowing, and the ultimate destination for all the rivers is the ocean. So here the rivers are compared to different paths by which liberation can be achieved, and ocean is the final ultimate goal, which is liberation. Now those who are traversing on the river or those who are the river fishes, they don't know that there could be already fish, aquatic lives which are available in the ocean, such as say sharks. Now sharks do not leave the ocean and come to the rivers. Now sharks, they are such that they are definitely not disturbed by anything which is happening around them. So let the rivers come, let people come from through, let the aquatics come from that river flow to the ocean flow. They are not disturbed. They are blissful in whatever they are living. And even fishermen are not able to capture the sharks. So they are unaffected. Similarly, This ocean, which is compared to a liberation, is like the Krishna Prem. So the advanced devotees and acharyas, they are fully engrossed in Krishna Prem. They have already achieved Krishna Prem. So even if someone says, okay, that was a better way, you could come through this way, or you could come through that path and achieve Krishna Prem or the liberation, they are not disturbed. And even if someone comes and goes, again they are not disturbed, because they are so strong in their faith, pure devotional love towards Krishna, that the net thrown by Maya is not able to affect. So they become Anyabhilashita Sunyam, and they are also completely sarvopadhi vinirmukta. So they don't get disturbed. And so they are compared to the star of the ocean. And that is what we have to do. Anukulyena, Anu-Shilanam. Anu-Shilanam. We have to follow such acharyas so that we also reach that stage. And again, it is said that even if those monistic philosophical persons, they come and they start trying to disturb them, they are not disturbed, because they are like volcanoes in ocean. So the volcano may erupt, the lava may come up, but the water will immediately convert it into ashes. No effect at all. So the advanced devotees, they are not disturbed by all these other philosophical discussions, logical conclusions. They are very, very concentrated on Krishna, because they know whatever they have to do to please Krishna. And they do only those things which will please Krishna. And so they are stable, they are strong. So that is how the ocean, the shark analogy is to be taken up and understood properly. So in this book, what Prabhupada ji has done during translation, he has continued with the analogies, and he has given us such nice explanations in simple English. We'll get a lot of love, we'll get a lot of enlightenment when we are going through this book in detail now from next week, wherein we start with the first chapter. So I am on time, luckily today. We have covered our discussions part. If there are any questions, you may raise your hands and ask. And if there are no hands raised, then there could be only two things. Either you have understood everything, or maybe I was not able to make the topic interesting and suitable enough for you to understand. So, yes, please ask Mataji. You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, in this lecture today, you were saying something about action and reaction, that we should not interfere in anyone's actions and reactions. So my question is that whatever happens in life, good or bad, that's action and reaction. Malab, some previous lives.
Mataji, yes. Yes, Mataji, speak.
Because Prabhuji, my father, he was going for trustee checkup in a hospital, and we didn't know that he will have a demise. The doctor just injected him some wrong injection and he collapsed on the spot. Now my father, as far as I know him, he was a very nice human being, good to all and loving and compassionate towards all beings. So my question is that even if it was an accidental death, then was it the reaction of something related to his past karmas? Because this life he was such a nice human being. That's what I want to know.
Mataji, there are two aspects. One, I never said about these things. What I was explaining is what Prabhupada ji has mentioned. The analogy was a little different. One thing is, Prabhupada ji said whether we should be trying to save someone, or whether we should allow him to suffer materially, whatever are his reactions. So he had said principally we should not interfere with anyone's life. But then from a loka vichar, we have to do the goods not for ourselves, but so that it becomes suitable enough when we speak about Krishna for the person in front to be receptive. That was the discussion that we were having. In that, we also understood about fruitive activities. Whatever karma we do, Mataji, whether now or even in previous, karma is defined not only of what you are doing today, Karma is all your fruitive activities which you are doing by vacha, mana, kaya, everything, not only in this body, but all your previous bodies. And everything that you do, you will get a reaction. You do good, you will get pure or the punya. If you do bad, you will get papa, the sin. The reactions are going to be there. And unless you fulfill all your reactions, you cannot come out of the repeated cycles of birth, old age, disease, and death. And that is why at the last moment, whatever are your thoughts, whatever are your activities, depending upon that, your next birth is decided. And we as persons, we as relatives of someone will not be knowing or be witness to everything that a person in front may have done in this life or in previous life. But then Paramatma is happening every word. If you remember, the analogy which is given in our Shastras is of two parrots. One parrot is sitting and enjoying the food, and the other parrot on the branch just simply seeing the first parrot. So we as soul are doing all the activities. But then Paramatma, who is accompanying us as soul, is witnessing everything. And he is recording everything. And he knows what we have done, why we have done, what we have thought, why we have thought. And accordingly, he first tries to convince us, don't do. But then when the effects of Maya, material nature, material energy, we don't listen to him. We do it, he remembers it, and then depending upon our desires, we get our next life. The second question in your question was, why bad things happen to good people? That's how I will summarize your question. At times we feel that someone has been very good throughout the life, but then he gets a raw deal. We have seen people in colleges who study day and night, but still they get only 70-80%. And we have some students who study only on the night of the exam. Throughout the year, they have just roamed around and still they become toppers. So these are not immediate, these janma karmas which are deciding. There are fruitive activities which have been done, the results which have been accumulated. And depending upon that result, those come anytime. Like Brahma also is a post we have seen. So once we have done all the only pure activities for millions of lives, we become qualified enough to get to the position of Brahma. But then once those fruits are over, we fall down. We have seen about the devatas. We see the shooting star. It is said that shooting star is nothing but those who have taken the position of devatas after having completed all the punyas. They cannot be allowed to die in heaven. So they are kicked from heaven and they come down. And we pray to them, oh, please give us something or the other. And they also, knowing that they are going down, they fulfill those desires. That is how it is explained in the Shastras. So, even if something bad is happening to someone who is good now, it need not be because of his actions in this life. It could be of his previous life. Even if something good is happening to someone who is very bad, it is not because of this life. It is because of his previous lifestyle. What he has done now, he'll have to bear later. So, any kind of a karma is very dangerous. And hence Krishna says, become akarmi. Whatever you do, you give up to me. And the moment we say, this I am doing for Krishna, this is for Krishna, this is for Krishna, then even the reactions are for Krishna. We become free from the reactions. And we are on our flight to Golok Vrindavan. That is our ultimate objective. That is how we have to live our life.
Thank you,
Okay,
Prabhu.
Mataji?
Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Bhupendra Shahji, you wanted to say something? Your mic is unmute. No issues. So what